So once again, good afternoon to all the attendees. My name is Dr. Chin Ko-yong from the Department of Pharmacology, your host today. So welcome to the first scientific writing series in 2020, organized by the Department of Pharmacology and also Young Scientist-Clinicians Network Faculty of Medicine, UKM. So before we start, so there's just a few house rules, okay? So we'll require all the attendees to mute themselves. Unless during the Q&A session, then you may unmute yourself and also ask questions. Second thing, we'll address all the questions submitted online previously. The audience can submit new questions in the chat during the forum, and please limit the chat to relevant questions. The third rules, there's no talk. This is actually basically not a talk, so it's more like discussions. The panelists might present limited slides or no slide at all, okay? To each of the questions that has been answered, that's been put forward. So at the end, please send us your email using the comment link displayed at the end of the event to obtain a video recording of the event. So before we introduce the panelists today, let's get to know you a bit, okay, using Mentimeter. So I wonder if everyone can see the Mentimeter display at this moment. Okay. So you can go to the Menti.com and log in using the code display on the screen. Just to let our panelists today and me to get to know you a bit. So again, to all the newcomers, welcome to the Scientific Series Writing Workshop, the forum, okay, organized by the Department of Pharmacology and also Young Scientists and Clinician Network. So before we start our talk today, we'd like to get to know our audience a bit. So can you go to Menti.com and key in the code? And you'll see the question, you can input your answer. So we have some answer coming in. Pain of being rejected. I have a quote for that for you later. Struggle, procrastination, time-consuming, hard work, achievement. I'm not sure what Coco means there. Complicated, tedious, reading, disciplines, fear. Okay, any more answer? So struggle is the big team here. Commitment, satisfactions, complicated, passions. Okay, there's a lot of answer. Again, still struggle stained at the center of the screen, indicating that more people indicate it is a struggle. Okay, so due to time interest, we'll move on to the next questions. Have you written a scientific article before as a first author? So most of you actually have, most of you have experience of writing a scientific article as a first author, I guess. Okay, so most of you have some experience in writing a scientific article before. That is why you know that it's a struggle. Okay, so that's good. So thank you for your submission just now. So roughly an idea of our audience today, around 60% of you will have written a scientific article before, and most of you think that it's a struggle. Okay. So I guess you are all aware that most of you are postgraduate students today, and you are all aware that to graduate as a master, you need to publish at least one paper, and PhD 2 paper to sit for viva. Okay. And that the scientific writing process is a time-consuming process. So we are here to actually try to help to answer some of the questions that you have, okay, or to help you to alleviate some of the doubts that you have regarding scientific publications, in hoping that you could achieve the required number of publications by the time that you sit for your IVA. Okay. So before we, without any delay, I would like to introduce our wonderful panel members today. Okay, so each of them have excellent track record of publishing multiple papers with good impact factor during their PhD. Okay, just a moment, let me display their profile. So first we have Dr. Nurul Izzah Ibrahim. So Dr. Nurul Izzah is currently a member of the Department of Pharmacology. She graduated in 2016. She was previously supervised by Prof. Ahmad Nazrun, Prof. Nazlina Muhammad, and during her postdoc training, he was supervised by Dr. Isa Naina. It's all big names in the Department of Pharmacology. So she took about 4 years to finish her PhD, and it's not worthy that she actually converted from master to PhD. So overall, he finished both the project within 4 years, which is quite an achievement. So number of papers published during her PhD is 7. It's quite an impressive number. And he joined the Department of Pharmacology in 2020. So her personal motivations, okay, not limited to scientific publications, is to push yourself. Okay, no one else is doing it for you. So of course, Dr. Nurul Izzah will have her personal life, and she would like to watch movie and spend time with family when she is free. Next, we have Dr. Wong Sok Kwan. Dr. Wong Sok Kwan is also a department member of the pharmacology, graduated in 2016, previously supervised by Prof. Imaniwana, Prof. Rariha, and also myself. She took about 2.5 years to finish her PhD. So we actually have to write a letter for her to graduate early, okay? So the number of publications published during her PhD is 13, also quite an impressive number. She joined UCAMS in 2018 as a contract lecturer. And her personal motto is that excellence is a result of never accepting mediocrity. Okay. So for Dr. Wong, so when she was free, she liked to spend time with family members as well. Okay. So both impressive researchers here are family oriented. Okay. So these are about our panelists today. Earlier on, we have collected some of the questions submitted by the participants. Okay. So these are actually the submitted questions. Okay, there are not many, over 13, but the audience, you are more than welcome to submit more questions during the course of this forum. Okay, so we are going to tackle one by one these questions. So first, how to write and publish my first article, and this must be coming from someone with no previous experience in writing papers. So how to get the first paper done. So for this, maybe we'd like to welcome Dr. Nurul Izzah first to share about her experience. What is her experience to write her first paper?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chin, for giving me the opportunity to talk. And then for how to write your first article, can you hear me or not?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. For me, during my study time, I write the first article was the review article, in which while waiting for the my research to be finished, I have to write the first article first. This first article, the first review article must be related with your study. And then, for example, like my PhD, the study was on the tocotrienol and lovastatin on the osteoporotic fracture healing. For this title, I managed to write and publish 3 review articles. And then it's actually good for you if you can publish review article first, because while doing your review article, you can also write your literature review for your thesis as well. So it means that you can do your job at 2 jobs at a time. And then while waiting for your research to be done, you can publish your your review article first. So that's how I publish my first article, by doing the review article first.
Okay, thank you, Isa. So the gist of what Isa has said is just that make the best use of your time waiting for a result. So while waiting for a result, come up with good review articles related to your topic, which you can incorporate it in your chapter 2, in your thesis later. And also you can use it for your introduction and discussion later when you write your first research article. Okay. What about Dr. Wong?
Okay, so very good afternoon to every one of you here today. So thank you very much as well to the organizer for inviting me for this forum for today. So I'm actually quite agree with Dr. Isa saying that it is very good to maximize your time, so that you can kill two birds with one stone. So that means at the early parts of your study, which you start to enroll in your master or PhD studies, and you still have time before you start your lab work actually. Okay, so there's a time that you need to purchase your chemicals, your consumables and everything. So there's actually a time that you should do some read up. So there's a most important, and also you can also use that time while waiting for the chemicals to come, to arrive. There's a time that you can plan for your first review. So basically my first review during my PhD, the first articles is review articles as well during my PhD studies. Of course, what makes the difference is that I actually don't have any experience in writing review articles, even though I enrolled myself during my PhD. Okay, so that is considered the first time I'm writing the review paper actually. So I didn't write any review during my master. Okay, so just a little bit of sharing a story about my experience during the first review article. So instead of all the tips given, so I just would like to share my story. So it is something because after you enroll in your PhD, of course your supervisor will give you, usually your supervisor will assign you with a title to write review paper. So that time similar to me, so I have actually my supervisor actually assigned me to write something regarding related to my thesis title, which is the relationship between metabolic syndrome and also osteoporosis that time. So I'm not sure whether, because as you all know, Dr. Gab is my co-supervisor. I'm not sure whether Dr. Gab still remember this or not. So it is actually something that after I was given the topic actually. So one day I actually bumped into Dr. Gab at 17th floor, which is outside the pantry. And then of course, what supervisor will ask you is about your progress, okay? So he's actually that time asking me how is my review paper, because I'm just about to start my review paper, writing my review paper that time. So he asked me whether I have experience in that or not. So of course my answer will be no, because that's the first time I do it. So of course at that time straight away, he briefed me on how to write an article. So it is just outside the pantry, and then imagine that time I have no pen, no notebook, and then I just received whatever that he briefed me. And that time I think is about 5 to 10 minutes. So that's basically the first experience that I have during writing my review paper. Okay, so usually that time he gave me some of the information on how to write a review, what it should be in the introduction, what should be what kind of information should be in the content, and then what you need to see the overall views of the evidence that you gather. Then after that, you need to give some of your opinion as well in regarding to the topics that you would like to discuss. So that's basically what he gave the guidance to me during my first review. Yeah, so that's basically what is my experience during the first review paper. So of course, the other things is that in order to write your first review, it is very important. These things doesn't only applies to your first review. It actually applies to all your manuscript writing, as long as whether it is a review or original research article. So you need to have your self-motivation. So you need to sit in front of the laptop to write it, because nobody will force you in writing. So nobody will put a knife on you to ask you to write. So that's the self-motivation that you want to give to, you need to put it on to yourself, okay? So that is a very important one. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. So again, the gist is actually, yeah, first thing is to actually start writing a review before, okay, you get your research data, okay? So there's a lot of waiting time in your experiments, waiting for patients, waiting for the rats, waiting for the reagents, okay? So this is a time that you survey the literature and to get to know your topic a bit deeper, okay? So writing a review is the best way to know about the topic that you are going to research on. So you may be writing your proposal at the same time as well. So it can actually kill, as the panelists have said, you can actually kill multiple birds in one stone, okay? So while you are surveying for your proposal, you are getting data, the materials for your review, when you're writing your reviews, you are actually getting your chapter 2 done, and also actually you are getting materials for your introductions and also discussions about your research article later, okay? So yeah, starting with review is a good stepping stone, okay, for your first paper, okay. Second point is that I should actually choose a better time to brief my students about writing papers. Okay, not outside pantry in 10 minutes. Okay, so, okay, that's about it. So Dr. Wong also talk about some points on the second question that we get, which is about the motivations. So getting your first paper done, that's all right, but you probably want more, okay? You probably want more. After writing your first paper, you might, your supervisors or you yourself will want the second papers, okay? On the topic related to your thesis, okay? After going through the hardship of first papers, how do you keep yourself motivated to write more and more, okay? So as Dr. Wong put it, no one is putting a knife on your neck, okay? It all depends on you. So maybe we'll invite Dr. Wong to continue to elaborate on this point. So how do you get yourself motivated? 13 papers is a lot. So how do you motivate yourself to get that 13 paper out during your PhD?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I just would like to continue how about to get motivation to write your papers. So of course, the first one I've mentioned earlier, which is the self-motivation. So how do you actually want to have your self-motivation that enables you to sit in front of your laptop and start writing? Okay, so the first thing I think the most important thing is you have your own goal when throughout your PhD or master studies. So as for me, what makes me what makes me have a higher motivation is that because as a student, what is actually your main point when you are actually enrolled as a postgraduate student, whether you are a master or PhD student? So of course you have some goal in mind. So where of course you want to get a certificate, also you want to get the degree is one of the point. And then second one is of course you have for me, I will have a goal that I want to graduate faster actually. So that in other words, it actually I can say that I want to graduate on time. Okay, so what can we do if we want to graduate on time? So of course, there are actually multiple things that you need to do apart from your publications. And then you need to have enough publication in order to go sit for your viva. And then in order to submit your thesis as well, and then only you can sit for your viva. So apart from that, you also need to complete your lab work. So how do you actually make things, make all these things completed within the time frame given to you? Okay, so that's the goal that, the first thing is, that's a goal that I have in myself, which I have in mind that I need to do. So that's the reason with that goal, you will have a motivation to write, okay, because you want to achieve something, okay, because if you are not doing, you won't achieve that. So as simple as that. So it is very important for you to start writing, and then in order for you to complete your study within the time period, okay. So that's the first thing basically. And then because that's also a reason why we need to start early, because you never know how many times of rejection that you might get. And then you never know, even though it is no rejection, you submit straight away, you can get the accepted in just one try, but you never know how long is the waiting time from the submissions of your manuscript until the manuscript is being accepted or published. So it will take a very long time for certain journal. So that's a very good reason. That's a very good reason for you to start early. So in order to not to drag your timeline, so that it won't affect your timeline. And then it is also a good thing to have multiple publication or multiple manuscripts, so that you are not actually just depending on one. So it will actually affect your timeline if there's anything happens between the manuscript submissions processes. Okay, so there will be uncertainties everywhere. So you don't know any time. So anything. So it is very important to start early and to have multiple manuscripts. So, and then the second one is to have the motivation to write, is that there will be some tips for you, is that you need to have a very good writing habits. So try to make your writing habit like every day. You must commit some parts of it. So make it a habit. So slowly you will develop the skills for that. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. So to summarize the gist of what Dr. Wong have said, first thing is to have a very clear goal, okay, very clear goal of what you are trying to achieve, whether to graduate, get your PhD or get your master, and also to build out a CV, to get a job later. All these are very good motivation, a good goal for you to write. And then second thing that Dr. Wong brought out is actually to build a very good writing habit, setting a maybe a short-term goal for yourself, writing a few pages a day. Okay, that will be good enough. Okay, maybe not to complete a review article, to complete a full paper, maybe it's too big a goal, but then you can start by writing section per sections, or maybe you can set a small goal for yourself, finish all the introductions in 2 days or 3 days. That will be something, a smaller goal that is easier for you to achieve. Okay, so as long as you can achieve the smaller goal, then you can get a sense of fulfillment, which will continue to motivate you to write. Okay, so Dr. Iza, will you have something to add on?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chin. Okay, for me, for the motivation to write every day, I always tell myself that I want to finish it. So by thinking like this, I'm not procrastinating myself to not doing it, in which I try to write every day, and every time I have free time, I will write. And then apart from that, I also make myself to remember that if it's not you, then who else will going to do it for you? So that's what pushes me to write every day. And then apart from that, I also get the motivation from the scholarship that I got during the study. During my PhD, I got the Zamalah scholarship, in which there are certain requirements that they set for me. For example, they said for me that for one semester, I need to publish at least two or one publication, if I'm not mistaken, and then so that keeps me to publish more and more. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Iza. So to summarize, again, Iza talk about setting up deadline for yourself. Okay, so it's similar. I say just now, like you have set a paper. It would be would be very frightening. You know, finishing out of your first review, finishing out of first full paper would be very frightening. So you can divide the big goal into smaller goal, like how many paragraphs in the introductions or the bisections, introductions, methods, and things like that. And then say to yourself, no, I'm going to finish it in 2 days for the introductions. Methods, I'm going to spend the next 3 days and things like that. Okay. So as long as you can achieve this smaller goal, okay, then you will have a good sense of yourself, and then it can push you to move further. Okay. I know Isa also tell about the scholarship that she received during that. And Zamala is a very competitive scholarship. Okay, so to be renewed every 6 months, you need to produce certain amount of paper, and that for itself is a very good motivations to push us to write more, because without the scholarship, no one can survive. Okay, so there's a very good goal for herself as well, to sustain herself, to sustain the scholarship. Okay. So before we move on to the next 3 or 4 questions, anyone have any question, you're welcome to type in the chat so that we can answer it later. Okay. If no, then we'll continue to the next questions. So we talk about writing a good review for the first few papers. Okay. Now the questions, how to write a good review. Okay. Maybe we'll start these questions. Isa, can you share about your tips of writing a good review?
Okay, thank you. For me to write a good review, I always try to find a good example for the review first, in which I will look at how the authors have elaborated on the subjects itself, and then how they explain about about the articles that have been cited in their articles, and then how they arrange the subtopics in their in their review. So by looking at their 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 way of writing the review, you can try to do it on your own, but please do not plagiate according to what they have already written. So try to prevent yourself from plagiate, and then try to write it on your own. And then plus other than that, I also decide on how on to do the review by deciding on what I'm going to write the review, in which the review that you should write is something that is novel and then can contribute to a new knowledge or concept. The review should not be something that already written by others, and then so that your review will be can be accepted easier for publication. So I think that's for me lah. I try to find a good example for the review first. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Isa. So the gist, what she has said just now is actually, first thing, if you are not familiar at all, try to read a few good example review. Try to get yourself familiarized with the review format and how the people sections are review. Okay, that will help you to create your own review. So first thing, read a few good example first. Okay, and then second thing is actually not to repeat everything you say, not to repeat what other people have said in their review. I'm sure there's some of the topic that you are going to cover for research topic. People will have written something, okay? Maybe a review or two about the topic you are going to investigate already, okay? So you should think about how to develop the unique point in your review paper, okay? That will be the selling point of your review papers. So Dr. Wong, will you have anything to add on?
Yep, sure. Just a little bit of addition to the points. So I think everyone should know that a good review is not the descriptive summary of what other people have done. So you, in that review and in that particular review as well, when you are writing, so make sure that you put some of the, so you actually come up with an overview on what other people's find. So what is the findings from other evidence, as well as you need to input your own opinion, suggestion, and then any other limitations are not in that current evidence. So you can also put it in if you have any ideas on it. So another point, good point to write a review is actually to gather your writing tools as well. So I think the right writing tools will help you in your writing. So this is not only for your review, this is also for your original research article. So gathering the right tools, let's say for example for your review, so you use you can always use your PowerPoint to do a schematic diagram. How do you want to manage your reference? So it is very important for you to explore and also try to see how to make full use of all these writing tools, such as for reference, it will be EndNote, Mendeley. So for language writing, it will be used Grammarly. So even a Microsoft Word, it is also a good writing tool that if you are mastering the functions in Microsoft Word, it enables you to manage your manuscript easily, okay? So all these are very important tips towards a good review. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. So to all the students who are listening, so the important point is that review paper is not just a repetition or just a summary of all the study that has been conducted before, okay? Because everyone can write a summary, or Form 5 students can write a summary, okay? So to make your review paper interesting, you should insert your opinions and also identify the potential research area or to identify the research gap currently in this field, okay? This will make your review very valuable, okay? So these are something when you are reading for your review for in preparation for review papers, try to identify the research gap, limitations, and also future research directions, okay? In all the papers you are reading, okay, and that you can you can form your own opinions and put it into your review papers, and that is again the selling point of your review papers. And also, review is a large paper. It's a very complicated writing piece, so you need suitable writing tools like EndNote or Mendeley to help to format references, Grammarly to check your grammar, and also let's say PowerPoint or other chart making tools actually to help you to make diagrams, and and you should know how to make tables in words and also check for grammatical errors. Okay, so try to be familiar with some tools that can help you or to ease you in the writing process. Okay, so I hope we have covered that. But if you have any further query, do ask in the chat, okay? So we can furnish you with more information. Second question on this, how to publish high impact article during master program or even during PhD program? How to publish a high impact article, either review or a research article? So maybe Dr. Wong had just published top 10% article last year in the phytomedicine. Is it phytomedicine? Yeah, phytomedicine. So yeah, what do you want to share about publishing high impact articles during postgraduate? Are the students able to publish high impact article by themselves?
Okay, thank you very much. So actually, in order to publish, it is the top 10 journals. The manuscript is actually a review paper published in top 10 journals. Okay, so in order to have published in publish high impact articles. Okay, so several point in. I think the most important things. I think we have covered some of the criteria in order to write a good review, how to write it. So that's your own your own effort in order to one of it in order to make sure that your article can goes into high impact journals. Okay, so in terms of, because we touch quite a numbers of points for good review, so I just would like to touch a little bit on the original research articles. So how about the what are the criteria for the manuscript in order to go for high impact journals? Okay, so in terms of the original research articles, so what makes it important is the data, so it's the findings that you get. So try to make sure, so when you are doing your lab work, or actually you're collecting your data, regardless to whatever types of your study is, so it is important for you for the data to be accurate, and then to be precise, to be valid, and also other things will be, it should be reliable, consistent, and then it should be timeliness. So you need to collect your data at the right, correct time point, and it is relevant. So at which time point that you actually should collect your data. So you cannot collect your data at the end point, but without a baseline, for example. Okay. So you also need to have a completeness of your data, and also a comprehensiveness. So don't miss out any kind of data that is supposed to be collected. And then the data, of course, have to be available for access if after when the journal requested for it, and because they need to be, your data should be available. Okay. And then that's some of the criteria in terms of the data collection. Okay, in order to go for a very high impact journals. Okay, so in terms of review, we have covered that. So I think that's basically what I would like to say. And then the most important things is you do every things that you should do in order to come up with a manuscript, and then you follow all the criteria, the introduction to the author by the journal. So you should try to aim for high impact articles. Okay, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. What about Dr. Iza? I think during your PhD, you also come up with one of Q1 journal. At that time, +1 is Q1. Yeah. So you did. I think before you finish your PhD, you did publish a article in original article in +1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you share about how to get a Q1 publications during your PhD?
Actually, I agree with what Dr. Sukwan has said just now. So all you need to do is that you need to get the accurate data and try, and then for the figures, tables, and charts, you need to have a clear and relevant to be published. And then also what you need to do is that you need to write in a short, concise, and clear way, in which each sentence in the manuscript you must make sure that it sufficiently add new info for the community, for the science. And then you also need to follow the journal guidelines very meticulously, in which you have to follow the word count, the reference format, and all this. You need to follow it very carefully. And then one more thing is that an important thing also is the convincing cover letter. You need to write a cover letter which can convince the editor to to determine that your article is good enough, which is that is significant to the scientific community. So thank you. So that's all.
Okay, so to summarize, so we have covered the what are the ways to write good review papers just now. So we are going to not going to repeat it. Okay, so for actually for good review papers, of I say it's not just a summary, and you need to insert your opinions and also direct the research field, future research field. Okay, direct the readers on the perspective on the future of this research field. But for original research article to publish a high impact original research article, actually for any research article, you need good data. Okay, you need good, reliable data, valid data, because if you do not have good data, we cannot help you. Okay, I mean, if you don't have good data, we cannot turn your, how do I say, imperfect data into something good. There's something that we cannot do. Okay, so make sure that you have good data, and then second thing, make sure that your manuscript have good language, so that it is comprehensible to all the readers, especially you know that most of the high impact journals are published by English speaking company. So you need to convince the native English speaking editor to accept your articles. Okay, so that will require good language. So if you need proofreading services, go for proofreading services and things like that. Okay, and maybe a good cover letter to convince the editor to accept your papers could be crucial as well. Okay, to even actually to put your papers into peer review process, that is very crucial. There are a few points actually I would like to say it. So to publish a high impact journal, go and read the articles that is published in that kind of journal. Okay, go and read, see what kind of topic is covered, what are the latest trend in the research, what are the advanced technology people are using in their high impact articles. Okay, as long as you see a trend there, and then maybe you can align your research along with the trend, then maybe you can publish in similar journal as well. Okay, so read more, get a sense of what's going on. Okay, and identify the future research area, go into that, and produce good data, and there's your steps towards your high impact articles. On this next question, what are the critical steps to get published in high impact journals? I think this we have covered in our question just now, right? So we are not going to repeat it again. The next question that was submitted is actually a bit weird because I highlight in red because I don't understand. I'm not sure whether the person who asked these questions is in the audience or not. How to know a good publications? I'm not sure whether there's a typo or is it how to write a good publications? Because how to know is a bit unclear to me. What do you mean by how to know? Any idea from the panelists?
Maybe I think the person who is actually submitting this question, is it he or she want to make sure that let's say if he or she is getting a article somewhere else, then how he or she should know that it is a good publication, I guess.
Yeah.
So I would say that
just a moment. I think this will overlap with one of the questions that's being asked in the chat right now. So Mr. Ng was asking, may you share efficient way to sort articles that you need to read for review articles? I'm sure that these are the good articles that you need to put in your review lah. Okay. So how to identify? So I guess this is to identify good articles to be read in preparation for your research or review articles. Okay. So yeah, maybe Sokwan would like to continue.
Yeah, thank you. So in order how to identify yourself, maybe how to identify the articles, whether it is good or not. Yeah, there's actually some of the points that you need to ask yourself on regarding the articles actually. So the first one is, where is actually the articles published? Okay. So so for this one, so you need to know where is this article published. So which journal are this article published? So you can actually search for the journal, whether it is being indexed by WOS or Scopus. So this is a very important thing. If the journal, in order to ensure the qualities of the publications or the articles that you are getting, so it's important for you to search for it, whether the journal is indexed by WOS or Scopus. So this is always, you can check it through the WOS website. And you can also check the impact factor of it, whether which rank it is in. So this will be inside the journal citation reports. But this website usually we need to enter this website through the institution, the account. Okay, so for journal citation report, okay, so for Scopus, you can always go in Simago in order to check it. Okay, so that is why it is so important for you to check, because you need to avoid articles from predatory journals. So you need to avoid all these predatory journals. So because these are the journals that surface up as a new journal and also practice unethical procedures. So make sure that the articles is not from these groups of journals. So this is also applies to when you are submitting your papers. Okay, so when you're submitting a paper, make sure that you are not submitting to the predatory journals. Okay, secondly, in order to know whether it is a good publication, the second point is that you can check whether who is the author. So you can always check, because nowadays it is very easily you can check the profile of the researcher or of the corresponding author now. It can be through WOS, you can be through Scopus or Google Scholar Citation to see whether the author is is having a certain field of expertise, and the articles is actually related to his or her fields of expertise. Okay, so you can check for the author background, so which university they are from. So these are basically the criteria in order to know whether the articles is it is considered good as or not. Okay, so and then when the articles is being published, is it 30 years ago, or it is just a very recent one? So of course the recent research article offer you an update regarding the field itself. Okay, then the last point is that how many citation that the article has. So of course you can check all this also in whether Scopus website, WOS, as well as Google Scholar Citation, that will actually show you citations of the articles that the article have. Okay, so of course the higher citation indicates that the articles actually being read and also being cited by other researchers as well. So that's basically some of the criteria in order to know what is a good publication. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. So Isa, do you have anything to add on regarding this? How to identify good papers? Yeah.
Okay, actually the same with what Dr. Wong has said just now. So to know whether the article is a good publication or not, first I look at the citation of the article. If it is high citation, means the article is good publication lah. And then I also look at where the article has been published. You have to check like what so Kwan has already informed us just now. If it's in Q1 or Q2 journal, means that the article is quite good and you can refer it for your reference. And then after that, also you can check at the research gate, in which at the research gate there's one part which stated that the research interest. If the research interest is high, means that the research is good and have interest to scientific community as well. So that's what I think, how to know a good publication.
Okay, so thank you, Isa. So to summarize, to identify good publications, first we look at the indexations of the journal. Don't Google random articles and read, okay? Because even Google Scholar, articles indexed by Google Scholar are not subjected to standard. So very, very bad journal could be indexed into Google Scholar. So try not to Google the articles you are trying to read, but use established scholarly database like Scopus, Web of Science, or PubMed. Okay, because for journal to be indexed into this big scholarly search engine, they need to be subjected to examinations. So the authority would check whether the journals are doing a good job in peer reviewing and also doing a good copy editing of their journal article. So search your article through major scholarly index website like PubMed, Scopus, and also Web of Science. Second thing is that as you read on, you are going to be familiarized with certain authors, okay? Especially those who are expert in your field. So these authors are the ones with their names appearing multiple times in the articles that you are reading, okay? So this big name is sort of a guarantee of good publications, although this is subject to debate, but then you recognize certain big names that regularly appear into highly cited or very reputable journal articles. Okay, so as long as you recognize this name, this could be a good indications of good publication as well. And then the third thing is actually one of the most easiest one. You can just look at the citations of the articles to see whether a lot of people are citing it or not. Okay, if the journals or the articles are being cited many, many times, so maybe it is a landmark study in that field, and then it is a good paper. Okay, and then you can also, apart from citation, you can also use ResearchGate to look at the research interest of that of the article. You can see whether a lot of people are reading it or not. They may not be citing it, but then there are a lot of people are reading it. Okay, so these are some good points to identify whether a good whether an article is a good article or not. Okay. We also have a new questions in the chat. I think we can gather these questions in the next sections we are going to cover. So how do you identify what journal to submit your articles? What's the first thing to do? Okay. So, okay, I think we'll go that to first. How do you identify which journal to submit? Isa, maybe how do you decide which journal to submit?
Okay, for me, I
Actually,
decide.
before that, I want to ask one question. Do you write first or decide which one to submit first? Do you
Okay,
write your manuscript first before you deciding which journal to submit, or you decide your journal first before you write?
for me, I always write first, and then after that, I decide on which journal I want to submit.
Okay.
That's what I always do.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Then
So
how do you decide which journal to submit?
for me, I look at the aim and scope of the journal first. For example, if I wrote about something that is, for example, for nutrients, supplementation on anything that have the good potential to be applied to human, maybe I will search for a journal that is that have the aim and scope which can which is matched with the what I have already written. For example, recently I wrote about the squalene supplementation on on cardiovascular diseases. So for this one, I decided to submit to nutrients, in which I think it is more suitable because squalene has a potential to be one of the supplement in the future. So it
Okay.
depends on the aims and scopes.
Okay. Anything else? Any other deciding factor? Well, thinking. Let's move to Sukwan. Sukwan, any deciding factor for you?
I think a publication fees can be a deciding factor as well. Like, let's say, if you are able to support the publication fees, or actually your institution is actually having the support for it, so maybe you can go through the open access journal. But if there is no, so that means you need to go for a subscription-based journal. Okay, so this is also one of the criteria that you can also select from it, apart from the scope and also the scope of the journals. Okay, and then of course the other things I have mentioned earlier, which is it is in order, you need to check whether the journal that you need to submit is actually actually a reputable journal and not predatory journals. So I think this is the criteria as well. And then yeah, that's basically the criteria.
Okay. So there are additional criteria for me, but basically first you look at the scope lah. You look at the scope because even it's open access, if it is not your scope, it doesn't fit the your article or manuscript doesn't fit the scope of the journal, there's no use of submitting there. So scope is very important. Read a few articles from that. You don't have time, just browse through the titles and also the abstract of the journal to see whether your proposed manuscript will fit into the scope of the journal. Okay. Otherwise, you can check also the author instruction to see whether it fit into scope of the journal as well. Okay. So yeah, and then second thing is the nature of the journal, whether it is a very niche expert journal or whether it's a multidisciplinary journal. Okay, for me, I think somehow I think multidisciplinary journal have a higher acceptance rate. For niche journal, although the impact will be larger, it might be a bit difficult to get into a very niche journal. For example, if you are doing cancer study and you want to get into the Journal of Oncology, that could be a bit difficult. It will be harder. Like I won't say it's not. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it will be a bit harder because those reviewer board sitting in the Journal of Oncology are all very expert. They may be a bit fussy about your manuscript. Okay, so that's why I mentioned maybe if you are not very confident, maybe you can go for multidisciplinary journal first. For example, in the WOS category, these are the internal medicine journal, categorized as internal medicine journal or experimental medicine journal. So these are some of the multidisciplinary category which you can have a look. And then third thing is actually your requirement of graduations. Okay, depend on graduation as well. You can't publish in not indexed journal, although they are easier to get acceptance, but you can't publish it there because if you publish there, it won't be counted as your KPI of your master or PhD. Okay, so you have to look at your criteria for graduation as well, whether the UKM or the faculty only recognize ISI index journal or Scopus journal as well. Okay, this is something that you would want to ask your supervisors or your department. Okay, and then next is whether the impact factor for the lecturers, maybe the impact factor is quite important. So we will try to get our journals into higher ranking Q1, Q2 or higher impact factor journal so that you will gain a lot more attractions, okay, from the scientific community. Okay, and then lastly is the APC, because our faculty, like the Faculty of Medicine, do fund the article processing charges of your articles, but we have certain cutoff point. Okay, you can't go into Elsevier journal asking for open access and it costs like 20K or 15K ringgit Malaysia, and the faculty cannot pay for you. Okay, so where do you dig out that 10K, extra 10K, extra 5K? Okay, so be aware of the sponsorship the faculty or UCAM can give you to publish your articles. Although ultimately it may not be you yourself who is paying, but then your supervisor is paying. So do consider for them lah. Okay. So these are the 5 deciding factors lah. Okay, that we could summarize for you. Okay. So how to withdraw from a journal that does not respond to our manuscript for more than 6 months or even more? So I think this I'll leave you to Sukwan or Iza. Do you have experience about that? Being delayed for 6 months. So what do you do?
Yes, I have experienced this before.
Okay, how long is that?
About 6 or 7 months, I think.
No news at all.
No news at all. So what
Also,
I did is that I sent an follow-up email to that to the editor, and then I asked for the I asked for the status of my manuscript, and then later on they responded to the follow-up email and saying that it is under review. But
Still
then
under
in
review.
case but then in the case of no response, maybe you can write an email and withdraw from that journal,
Okay.
and then try to send to other journals.
Okay. So what about Sukwan?
I actually never experienced this before. I think the longest one is around 5 months. It won't go until 6 months. So so far, for me, so far my experience, I'm still acceptable to the range that it is less than 6 months. So I don't have any experience on that, but just I would like to maybe give an advice to always keep track of your record, and then the status of the manuscript. So sometimes you can maybe you can ask when there is no response for maybe 2 or 3 months. Maybe you can send an email and ask. So this is how you should keep track for the status of your manuscript submission. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, thank you all. For me, I will start asking by the 3rd month from submissions. Okay, from submissions, after 3 months, I will start emailing the journal. What happened to my manuscript? Okay, because most of the time it could be the journal having difficulty in finding reviewers. Could be the editor keeping the journal for too long, the manuscript for too long, and things like that that didn't send out for peer review. So it is appropriate for you to ask after at least 3 months lah. Okay, you don't submit and then after 1 month you ask, because it must be fair to the editorial house as well lah. Okay, finding a reviewers is a very difficult task. Okay, so 3 months then you can start asking. I have experience after 6 months, there's no response at all from the journal. So if the journal editorial board doesn't respond, editorial team, not the editorial board, the journal editorial team refuses response, I will complain to the journal house who published the journal. Okay, I will write to the manager of the journal house and complain the journal. At my worst point, because this after 6 months, then there'll be 9 months also no response. We complain to the international I forgot the name already, International Medical Journal Board, which most of the journal participated, and we CC the email to the journal house. Then the journal house responded. Okay. But that's not a very critical manuscript, so I can wait. Somebody will complain. Okay. But if you think that the wait is not reasonable and the journal didn't give you any response, up to a limit, maybe 6 months, you can actually write a letter to ask to withdraw from the journal. Okay, it is very, very important for you to write and send the withdrawal letter first before you submit the manuscript to another journal. You must have a record saying that you have withdrawn from that journal, regardless whether they reply or not, because some journal there simply don't reply to your withdrawal letter. I will give it a week or two waiting for their reply to my withdrawal letter. If no, then I will just send to another journal house. But you must have written and send the withdrawal letter first before you send to another journal house. There must be email record indicating the date. Okay, or else later if you are blamed for double publication, you must have proof to protect yourself. Okay. So you are not allowed to send 2 manuscripts at the same time to 2 different journals. Okay, so withdraw first before you send to another journal. So I'll just directly answer one of the chat questions. After sending the withdrawal letter, must wait for response from journal editor. Yes, you must give some allocation for them to reply to your letter to confirm withdrawal or not. Okay, but after 2 weeks or after 1 month, still not reply, I think you are free to submit to another journal as long as you have the record of timestamp of your withdrawal email and things like that. Okay, just to protect yourself if you are being blamed for double submissions. Okay, so how to publish fast? I wish I know how to publish very fast. Sometimes we have to wait more than 1 year to get published. How to look for journals that usually publish very fast? So Kwan?
Okay, so I think in terms of how to publish fast, I think the first round is by yourself first, how to write fast. Okay, you need to write fast in order to go push your manuscript towards submission. Yeah, so in this question, I will just focus on in terms of the submission process, how to publish fast. Sometimes we cannot control this actually. So what you can control is actually yourself. So what you can make it faster is to write faster. Okay, I mean you can finish your manuscript. That means no procrastination, you must have motivation, the patience to write. So you can, in order to go for your submission faster, but then you cannot control how to publish fast, okay? Because these are the things that you cannot control. And then just, but there are some of the journal actually, the manuscript processing processes is quite fast, okay? This is often applicable when it is an open access journal, okay? So usually open access, that's usually, okay? Usually open access journal will require faster, it will come up with a faster decision, but this doesn't apply to all, so but we just can say usually, okay? But in order to know how to publish fast, another point is that maybe you can always check before the submission. Maybe you get into after you know which journal that you want to submit, you can always go through the website and then to check for the journal whether there's sometimes there will be journal actually displaying what is the average time required to reach their first decision. So I always can see this type of the time required in some of the other journals. So they actually have these kinds of information given to you. So maybe when you have decide when you are choosing several journal, which one you want to decide, maybe these are some of the factors that you can look through. Okay, so in terms alternatively, if there's also some of the journal, the articles from you get some of the articles from the journal. So there are actually time stated when is the date of the submission. the date of acceptance as well as the date of publication. For example, all those journals in MDPI that are actually stating the information there. So from there, you can judge whether the journal is actually having the faster rate or actually a slower rate for their manuscript processing. Okay, so and then in order to publish fast, maybe you can ask around your friends, your colleague, your supervisor, maybe they have some experience in terms of sending the manuscript to certain journal. So they are some of the people that you can ask about the opinion or experience, whether they have a very fast or slow processing time. Okay, so do your part properly. So do your no procrastination in terms of writing. So develop your patience to write. So finish your writing in a reasonable time. Okay, so then you can have a faster. You can reach faster towards publication. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sokwan. About Iza?
Actually, the same with what Dr. Sokwan said just now, because for me, I always look at the one of the manuscript that has been published by the journal, in which where it stated article is received when, and then accepted when, and then published when. So by looking at the dates there, you can guess whether the publisher can publish your articles in shorter time or not. So for my experience, MDPI is one of the fastest publisher that I have already published. And then one more is Dove Medical Press. I think that one is also a fast publisher as well.
Okay.
So that's all.
Okay. Just to declare, we didn't have any conflict of interest. We didn't advertise for NDPI and also Dot Press. Just our experience, huh?
Yeah, that's the experience.
No commercial fees received from us. But yeah, so there are two factors. Just to summarize, there are two factors. There are two factors whether to publish fast. So the first factor is the author's factors. So it's you whether you can write fast, write consistently, and also journal papers consistently. Okay, so that depend on you. But what you cannot control is actually the journal factor. Okay, so to know about which journal who can publish very fast. So usually I would say the open access journal, they will publish faster. Okay, because they accept fees, so there's a responsibility for them to publish faster. But serving as a BMC journals academic board, editor board, I would say it still take 3 to 6 months to publish in BMC, although they are open access. So the next thing you actually want to look is actually just look at the open a few articles in that particular journal, look at the acceptance, manuscript acceptance, manuscript receive date, and also the publication date. You can see a lag time. What is the distance between submissions received and also submission published? Okay, that could give you a very good idea as well. For journal published by Elsevier, most of them have indicators, okay, in their front page, indicating what is the time from submission to first decisions and also acceptance to publications. Okay, so that will give you a good estimate on how long it will take for publications. Other things, the journal who do not have imprint publication, meaning that they don't print out their journal, they are all internet journal, no hard copies, they will actually publish faster. Okay, because you don't have to queue for volume and issues. Okay, and then well, the simple thing, you can just ask around, like you can just ask around colleagues, ask around friends with a lot of publication, which journal they think can publish very fast. Okay, that will be the easy way out. Okay, but I would say 3 months is the average length of from submissions to acceptance. Okay, 3 months one. Okay. anything less than 3 months for me is considered for very fast. Yeah, but sometimes it can drag up to 6 months. That's why we ask you to write earlier and write more. Okay, because you are not sure by the time you sit for Viva, your journal has published or not. So write a few more so that you have options. Okay. So I think we can go, we have finished the submitted questions and now we can go to the questions submitted in chat. Okay. So I think we have answered a few. We go to the one asked by Chandra. Something related with articles. For review articles, how do you categorize articles to be good, moderate, and low article? I mean, this means that when you are preparing for your review articles, how do you decide the original research article are good article, moderate article, or low quality article? I think Sokwan or Noru, you can answer if you want. Anything?
Okay. How to actually know that it is a very I think I won't define it that way because it will goes back to the question on how to know a good publication. So usually when we put it any evidence into a review article, I didn't judge whether it is it means I don't judge based on the data whether it is good or not. Because usually we search through the evidence through PubMed and then or actually we search it through Google, sorry, not Google, we search it through Scopus and also the Web of Science. So these are the reputable journals that goes into this search engine. So usually we'll put in the articles, the evidence obtained from there. So usually I didn't judge whether it is under good, under high, the good, moderate, and also the low quality of the evidence. I think that's what I want to say,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah, Isa, anything you want to add?
For me, I also did not categorize whether the article is good, moderate, or low quality, because what I do is that I just if I want to include that article in my manuscript, I just summarize from what I understand from the article, and I didn't judge it whether it's good, moderate, or low. So that's what I did.
Okay. So for all the students, the first rule of thumb is that if you can find the articles in reputable search engine like PubMed, Scopus, and also Web of Science, usually it is an indication of good article. But you want to further categorize this article into good, moderate, or low quality. I think for me, the best way is actually for you to obtain certain guideline. Okay, certain guideline. First you look at what kind of study it is first. Okay, look at what kind of study it is. Let's say, for example, it's a clinical trial. So the standard guideline for reported items in clinical trial are JADA. Okay, JADA guidelines state that the good clinical trial must have shown randomizations and method randomizations, blinding and method of blinding, fate of subjects, and also things like that. So your report that you are reading must fulfill all these criteria to be judged as good to minimize the risk of bias. For observation studies, we have Newcastle guideline for observation studies, a preferred reported item. You can Google it and also have a look at the what are the criteria. So you can look at the article based on this criteria to judge whether it is of good quality or not. For animal studies, you have ARRIVE guideline to help you to judge whether it's a good article or not. Okay. And also cell culture study, I'm not very sure. I'm sure that there are cell culture study guideline out there, but I'm not very sure which guideline to use. So you can base your judgment on the quality to do a quality appraisal on this article for your systematic review or meta-analysis based on this guideline. Okay, if you really want to do a quality appraisal on this article. Okay, so the next question is the acceptance of papers in high impact journals depend on the methodology used or the way or the result are presented? Let's say more figures and more tables. Anything from Sukma or Iza?
For me, I think that's a little bit of it will affect, let's say, for certain high impact journals. So you will need some amount of the data that you need in order to get published into the high impact journals. Okay, so cannot be you are just putting in a very little data, or maybe one or two that you actually wish to go to the high impact journal. So of course that's not. So I think that will actually affects anyhow it will affect more or less. Okay, so in order to have you go for the high impact journals, you need to have the right amount of the data and not just one or two, then you would like to just publish the articles. Okay, so for me, I think that will be yes, so it will affect. Okay.
Okay, about Iza, anything about Iza, any opinion on this?
Okay, for me, to be accepted in a high impact journal, for the methodology, of course, the methodology, it needs to be validated, in which if, let's say if someone else is going to do the research the same, it can be reproducible. So the methodology used must be reproducible and also validated. And then the way the results were presented should also be clear, and relevant figures should be submitted to the journal, in which it will show or present the right amount of data, the accurate data for it to be published. So that's what I think lah, to get accepted in high impact journals.
Okay, so a bit more input from me. So sometimes a high impact journal look at the novelty of your story. Okay, so if your story is novel, there's higher chance for you to publish in high impact journal. And then secondarily, the comprehensiveness of your data. Okay, to prove your story comprehensively. So for, let's say, for pharmacologists, sometimes we do supplementation studies on animals. Our novel drugs or novel agents will have demonstrate some physical effect. Let's say, like in the field of osteoporosis, we see improvement of bone mineral density, we see improvement of bone calcium, we see improvement in bone strength. These are just a surface, just the just the surface of the data. But what contribute, what are the pathway, what are the metabolism, what are the mechanism of the agent contributing to these changes that would contribute to the help you to tell a more complete story. So for high impact journals, they want a complete story. Okay, you cannot just present the surface data. That's not enough. Okay, you might able to hide to publish in maybe impact factor 2, 3 journal, but to reach 3, 5, or 6 or more. Okay, you need to really present a very comprehensive data to support your story with clear mechanism of actions. Okay, that is actually required for the pharmacology publications. I'm sure other field will have other criteria as well. So that's why if you look at, let's say, publish papers in Nature Communications, you look at the data, you will be totally amazed. And that kind of data you can split into 10 papers, okay? Because there's a lot of data being presented because they want to support the comprehensiveness of their story. Okay, so if there are more data, of course, there will be more figures and table to present this data. Okay, and the method use, of course, all the methods must be validated and replicable. Okay, that will be that will support your high impact publications. So Karia asks, how long usually do you take to write a review article? It depends on how dedicated you are, first thing. But then, so Guan and Isa, how long do you take to write a review article in general? No, with your family commitment, with your teaching commitment and things like that, how long do you take to write a review papers?
For me, I think the shortest time that I can take to do a review is that 1 month. That's the shortest one now. But then
Yeah.
it can be 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months
Shortest is 1 month.
2 or 3 months is your average, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So average is 2 to 3 months lah, because we do have something else to do and a lot of reading required. So 2 to 3 months, I think there's a good estimate. What about Sokwan?
I think it's the same because, of course, for the same with Dr. Iza is that the fastest is actually 1 month. It is because the whole effort is to write manuscript only. Okay, so that is my first review paper, which takes only 1 month actually for the first draft, because that time I don't have any lab work to do, and then what I can do is just focusing on writing the review. So by right, and you have the lab works together with you, and then it will actually drag a little bit, so it will become slower. So I agree with that. My average time is still 2 to 3 months, and with more work now, as it will be goes longer time will be needed. Okay, all right.
Okay. So yeah, it takes much longer for the lecturers to write review compared to students. Now you just do lab work and then you just do your writing. Okay, so I guess you have more time to read and write. So I guess a good estimate will be 2 to 3 months for you to write review papers. Okay. So is there any next questions? Is there any cutoff point to get response from a journal that I reply already? I will give it 3 months. What is the next step if paper got rejected? So what do you do? Sukwan and also Isa?
So of course, the next step is just after get rejected, if there is comment from the reviewer, you can always improve your manuscript based on the comments from the reviewer. So because if it is go through peer review, it should be certain comments from there. So there must be some reason for your rejection. So just improve for that and then go for another new journal. Just try another new journal. So don't give up. So if let's say if there's no comment it is rejected without peer review, maybe your articles doesn't meet their scope or something like that. So maybe you can straight away just submit your manuscript into another journal. Yeah.
That's okay. So Isa, anything to add on?
Same goes to me as well. I will improvise the manuscript accordingly to the reviewers' comments and suggestion, and then try to submit to other journals.
Okay. So this is where my famous quote come in. Rejection is harsh, but journal review rejection cannot be harsher than your ex lover. Okay, so be very thick-faced. Okay, be very, very thick-faced. No need to get very disappointed by rejections. Okay, well, you can be sad. Just allow yourself one day or half day to be sad, and then later on just improve the journal according to comment. If no comment given, just find another suitable journal, reformat it, and just submit it. Okay, nothing serious. It's just someone who don't even know you reject you. Why should you care? Yeah. Okay. So withdrawal letter, yes, I answered that already. And then next, how long usually for you to finish a manuscript? I think that we answered already. For review papers, it can take up to 2-3 months. For original research paper, how long do you take?
I think original research article will be lesser actually, because you just write what data you have, and then I will say the fastest, but that is only applicable when we are a student, which we have our commitment is just our lab work and also writing. So I think it should be shorter. The fastest one will be shorter, three weeks or to 1.5 months, I guess.
Okay, Isa?
The same for research article. I think it is shorter compared to the review article because we
Yeah.
already have the methods and technology, methods and materials on and all that.
Yeah. So with all your data completed, I think just you could finish it less than 1 month if you want to. Okay, depending on how working you are. Okay. So OHAT tool is a good tool to evaluate quality of cell culture study. Okay, thank you, Dr. Pang. Dr. Pang is one of my postdoc working in my lab currently, and his focus or expertise is actually on cell culture. So OHAT, I'll take note into that. For first article, what is the reasonable journal impact factor should we aim for so that we can get acceptance easier? Okay, so yeah, any opinion from our panelists?
Okay, for me, if I want to send a manuscript, I will try to submit to Q1 first, and then if got rejected, then I will go to the Q2, Q3, and Q4. So I will try to aim for the best one first, the Q1 first. We have to try our luck for the best one first. So that's what I did.
Okay. Sukwan?
For me, I think it because the question here is a reasonable journal impact factor that we should aim for. I think I will say it is between 2 to 4, I guess. If you want to really want to answer this question, is on the journal impact factor. So sorry, it's not 2 to 4, it's 1 to 4. Okay, but I didn't say that all that like impact factor 3 will have a faster accepted rate, which I don't think so. Okay, I think same, we will always, like, let's say you have several aim for your journal which you want to submit, so always aim for the higher first, then only try for the lower one. So this is the point that Sam said with Dr. Isa. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, it depends on, actually you can ask your supervisor first. Look at your papers, ask your supervisor, because your supervisor will be more familiar in this field. He or she will have a good estimate which journal, what kind of impact factor you should aim for by looking at your papers. Okay, so you can consult a supervisor first, and of course we try the highest possible if the highest possible lah. Okay, by highest possible I don't mean first paper directly go to Nature lah. Okay, but have a good estimate what kind of impact factor your paper is suitable for by asking your supervisor first. Okay, and then you try from the highest to the lowest. Okay. So are there any tips on how to juggle between finishing up your thesis writing and completing your manuscript? Which one will you write first, your manuscript or your thesis? Anything, Sukwan?
So in terms of this, okay, the good how to say, the chronological order, it should be citing with review article when you have no data with you. Then after that, you have completing your research lab work and everything, and it should go to your manuscript. Then only, and last you go for thesis writing. So okay, so this is supposed to be the chronological order of it. So this is also applicable to me. Okay.
Isa?
Yeah, same as what Sukwan said just now. Means that you have to write your review article first, and then we'll proceed to the research article, and then your thesis writing.
Okay, so I think it's a good idea for you to write your reviews and research article first before you actually proceed into your thesis writing, because during the peer review, you are going to get free advice from foreign experts. So that was how do I say, add a point to your thesis. You can incorporate their comment into your thesis writing later. Okay. So, but how to juggle? How to juggle is actually your time management, like time management. Okay. You should start very, very early. You can't, drag your article writing and your thesis writing at the same time towards the end of your project. Then you have no time. Okay. Start very early by writing your review article first. Okay. Finishing your review article, and then maybe you are still doing your experiments. Maybe you can start with your chapter 2, 3 first. And then when you have data, you can start drafting your research article, and at the same time also your chapter 4 discussions and also results. Okay. So start at the beginning of your study, not the end of your study, because at the end you will not have time anymore. Yeah, you will not have time to wait for publication anymore. Then you will focus only for your thesis writing, and then you don't know how to write, where to find time to write article. Okay, start early. Start by writing review. So Nadia asks how to make the published review article as chapter 3 in the thesis. Isa, anything?
Chapter 3 is for the methodology, right?
Yes. No. Chapter 3 is yeah. Chapter 3 is methodology, right?
Yeah, I think it's methodology.
I think it should be chapter 2, I guess.
Chapter 2 lah. Okay.
Okay, for me, if you already publish your review article, and then it will be easier for you to write your chapter 2, because maybe some of the things that you already published in the review article, you can straight away insert it into your chapter 2 review article, chapter 2 thesis. Yes.
Okay. Anything from Sukwan?
Okay, so for the how do you actually put it into your chapter 2? Okay, so because when you have a title of your PhD or master project, there are actually several readings that you need to do, several topics that you need to do and everything. So that's the reason you put it into a review paper. So from there, you can actually take out what is the what actually you have do in your review articles. So let's say, take an example. Previously, my PhD study is on tocotrienol, the effects of tocotrienol on the metabolic syndrome parameters and also bone parameters using animal models. Okay. So here, because it is a bone parameters and also it is induced by metabolic syndrome. So from the first part, I actually do the relationship between metabolic syndrome and osteoporosis, which is the bone loss. Okay, so it can be a part of your section in the chapter 2. Okay, so it depends on what is your topic is, and then it can come up with the relevant topics that you need to put in your literature review, okay, which is related to it. And then the second review article is on the animal model of metabolic syndrome, because I'm using animal models. So I try to do a review articles on the animal models of metabolic syndrome. And if you are putting into your thesis, so it can be one of your subtopic as well. So this is basically how you want to convert your review articles into your chapter 2. So it will be multiple review articles that you can put it into your thesis. As the third one, it will be the treatment with tocotrienol. So what you have read regarding tocotrienol, how is the effects? It will be as the third review articles. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, so what Sukwan basically just say is that you study your title of your thesis, okay, and then break it down into several parts, which can be written into individual review articles, because you can't just submit your whole chapter 2 in as a review article. That is not acceptable. As editor, I won't accept that. Yeah. Because I'm serving as editor as some of the journal. There are authors who submit their whole chapter 2 as the review article. No, we will not consider that because it's too messy. Okay. So first look at your title or your thesis, break it into several workable individual review article. For example, so one example is vitamin E on metabolic syndrome induced osteoporosis. So we can break it into three parts, which is what is the effect of metabolic syndrome on bone or on osteoporosis? What is the effect of vitamin E on metabolic syndrome? And thirdly, what is the effect of vitamin E on osteoporosis? So there are three parts. So break it into break it into several smaller, individual, and more defined working title for your review, and then you can start writing it. And then your chapter 2 is going to combine all this the information or all this review. That will be your chapter 2. Okay. So how do you manage to review articles by reading up hundreds of articles, hundreds of original research articles? How do you link up the dots, the relationship between each article? Any strategy? So Kwan?
Okay, for me, I think that is not for that's for me. Okay, for me that is actually not reasonable to put hundreds of articles as the evidence for a review article. That is actually too much. It would take a very long time for you to extract the articles. Okay, so that's basically the guideline for myself. I usually I won't do the hundreds of articles. If there is hundreds of articles that you need to put it in your review article, so when after you have searched for it, you should actually limit the scope. That means make it into a smaller review article. So you can actually break the hundreds of articles maybe into the even you can actually break it into 2 or 3 articles from there. So I think that's not reasonable for me. Actually, I think so far the most I put it the articles, original research article into my review, I think it's around 40 something at most. I think it's just 43, for less than 45. So I will make a roughly a guideline of 40 articles. I think that consider quite a lot for me to actually extract the data. So I think that's the most that I will go for. Okay, if you have hundreds of articles, of course you can always limit your scope. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Iza, any tips on
Okay,
this?
for this one, for me, before I do the review article, I'll first make the subtopic of the review article first. For example, after introduction, you have certain subtopics that you have already decide on, and then after that you will find for articles that that suit for your research, that will suit for your review article, right? And then while searching for the article, I will break down the articles which is more suitable to which subtopic, and then I will straight away save the articles and then put it in the on the specific subtopics, so that it will be easier for you to refer it when you want to write it down. So that's what I did.
Okay. So thank you for your tips. So for me, usually before you first thing you have to search systematically the articles that you want through certain very well-defined keywords. Okay, so like what's quite advised, usually your review article should contain a core evidence, meaning that the articles that you really want to analyze. I think the reasonable number should be 20 to 40 lah. Okay, so it's more achievable for you. Okay, the core studies that you really want to synthesize or analyze the evidence. Okay, after adding the other subsidiary references, you will reach out to 100 for article on definitions, prevalence, and things like that, data like that. So you reach out to 100, but the core one, the really important article that you really need to analyze is only, I think 20 to 40. That will be a good number. Okay, sometimes I think 40 is already too much also for me. Yeah. So another thing is, before you start reading that 20 or 40 article, before you start reading, no one can remember 20 or 40 articles. So start by creating a evidence table. So open up your Excel, draw column, like column of author's name, column for title of the articles, column for study designs, what are the findings, what are the major limitations. Okay, so draw up this column in your Excel sheet or in your words, it doesn't matter whichever software you want. Okay, and then when you are reading this article, try to note down the information, move the important informations from the article into the Excel sheet using your own words. Okay, transfer the important informations from the original research article into the Excel sheet using your own words to prevent yourself from plagiarizing. Okay, your paraphrasing should start from here. Okay, so let's say after you have a list of 40 articles, then in the Excel sheet or in the table form, that's easier for you to see a trend. Okay, then you can start analyzing the study by dividing them into animals or preclinical studies or human studies. And from there, you can subdivide the studies into negative result, positive result, or no result at all. Okay. From there, you can get a sense or pattern of that research topic that you are analyzing. Okay. So this is a process we recommend. Search using defined keywords. Get a limited subset of the articles, 20 to 40. Before reading, create your evidence table by using Excel form or a table, words table. Divide into few columns consisting of authors' names, titles, the study designs, the major findings, and also the limitation of the article or future notes of the article. When you are reading, transfer the important information into the evidence table using your own words. Then rearrange your table into the story you want to tell. Okay, by study type, or is it by importance, or is it by chronological order, or is it by positive or negative results? Okay, after you do this, then you have a very good sense of your all the literatures in this field. Okay, and then you can start writing your review. Okay, and your review structure could be based on the way you arrange the study just now. Okay, so I think I hope that will be clear for you. So Rasmaiza asks, what is your opinion on publishing in local journal and international journal? Is there any trend or different tip to tackle them? Yeah. Anything from Iza or Sokwan regarding this?
I think, okay, regarding to this question, I will say that for me, I actually doesn't really mind whether it is a local or international journal, but I did mind whether it is indexed in WOS or not. Okay, because the reason why I mind that is that it is a requirement for the institution. Okay, so you need to publish. There's actually no point for you to publish in journals that are actually that's actually not indexed in WOS, which it cannot be counted as your KPI, or it cannot be counted as your requirement for your graduation. So there's actually no point for you to publish that. So for me, I don't mind whether it's a local or international, but I mind whether it is in WOS or not. Okay, so what are any trend or different tips to tackle them? I think the most important things is we have actually addressed the criteria, most of the criteria just now. So in terms of a good review, how you want to write a good review, and in terms of a original research article and how you want to do it, how you want to write a good articles, and then from there, so after you have do your part, so in terms of the writing, you just have to follow the instruction by the journal meticulously. So you need to follow them everything. So that do check it first before your submission. I think that's the way to tackle whether it is local and international. I think the process actually applies to all the submissions. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Iza, anything?
Okay, for this one, for example, for local journal, for let's say for Malaysia-based journal, maybe any trend or different tips that you can tackle them is that if you are writing about Malaysian population, so maybe that that one can make them have interest to publish in to get your manuscript published. And then one more thing is that for international journal, for example, if you want to publish in for example orthopedic nursing, for example, you need to have the scope of nursing in your manuscript, so that you can tackle the editor to publish your journal. So that's what I think.
Okay, so thank you. So I agree with both of them. Sometimes it's the indexing which is more important rather than whether it's an international or local journal. And second thing is that it depends on the context of your manuscript. So if your manuscript are tackling single center Malaysian population, maybe it is with limited subject, maybe it is a good idea to go for local journal. Okay, which the reader are confirmed to be Malaysians. Okay, if you go to very big international journal, they might not care about just the Malaysian populations. Okay, they want a regional data. Okay, so depend on the context of your manuscript as well. Okay, but this is not to discourage that if you have only Malaysian populations, then you should go for a local journal. We have published Malaysians data on international journal as well. Okay. Some journal, let's say some reputable journal like Osteoporosis International and also Archive of Osteoporosis, they are sister journal. The Osteoporosis International Journal only publish regional data, very large sample size, and Archives of Osteoporosis only publish local data. Okay, so this is distinctions. So you might as well look at the author guideline to see the scope of the journal as well. Okay, in order to answer that. Last question also, do you submit your review article for proofreading? Of course, if you are not very confident of your English ability, I think it's worthwhile to submit any articles for proofreading before submitting into a journal to avoid desk rejections. Okay, desk rejection is the editor will glance through your manuscript before sending it to peer review. If at first glance, your manuscript is not readable, you will receive a desk rejection in 1 or 2 days, meaning that you will not be submitted to peer review, and the editor think that your manuscript is not qualified. Okay, so producing a readable or comprehensible manuscript is important to avoid desk rejection. So if you have problem in English, I think it is worth to hire a proofreading services. Okay. Any suggestion to improve writing skill? Iza, any suggestion to improve writing skill?
Okay, for me, in order for you to improve your writing skills, that you need to attend for workshops and also try to write more and more in order for you to improve your writing skills, and then try to read more articles so that you can get how to write in a good way. And then I think that's all for me.
So Kwan?
I think that also applies to me when you want to improve your writing skill, practice more, make it as a habit. So you just because your continuous in writing, you actually improve your skills, and then try to look up other papers on how they actually put their manuscript into words. So I mean, put their ideas into words, so that will actually helps.
Okay, so yeah, for me as well, I think you just have to read more and start writing. Okay, you can't wait yourself to be perfect to start writing. You should write to be perfect. Okay, you should continue to write until you get perfect writing. So just start something, start writing something. Okay, and then you can work your way up to perfections. Okay. Any more questions from the audience? While waiting for more questions, I would like to ask you or to invite you to fill up the feedback form for the forums. If you provide us with your email addresses, then we can email the recording of this session to you. Okay, you can also indicate any comments and also your desire for future forum or workshop if you hope us to continue to organize similar workshop for you. You can indicate the kind of topic that will most benefit you. Okay. Any more questions? If there's no questions, okay. There's the link to feedback form. You can scan, or you can actually, I posted a link in the chat. You can fill out the form. You can fill out the Google form, and I can email you the recording, and also indicate your anything that you're interested in future workshop or forum. Okay, so if there is no, then maybe we'd like to conclude the forum. Okay, I think I'm happy to get over 60 participants at the highest number at this point, and I'm very glad that you attend, and we are very happy to share all our experience with you. Okay.